Martin Scorsese says it might be the best Western ever. Really? It's One-Eyed Jax, directed by Marlon Brando, also starring him. Let's take a look and see if this movie really is that great, coming up next. Brando made One-Eyed Jax, released in 1961. Interesting trivia, Stanley Kubrick was going to direct, but because of various problems, you can look it up on Wikipedia, Brando jumped in and ended up directing it, the only film he ever directed. And before I get into what this movie is about, here's a Blu-ray copy, which I bought on Amazon. This is utter trash. It's a German version. It does have a German language in it, but get rid of that and go get the Criterion version because they updated it in 4K and the colors look absolutely amazing. That other version looks absolutely terrible. Don't bother with it. It's not real HD. One-Eyed Jax is the story of Rio and his partner Dad Longworth, played absolutely amazingly by Karl Malden here. In fact, the duo of Brando and Malden together, it has to be seen to be believed. I think this is one of the best acting duos put together with these characters ever. Really, I really mean that. These two play a bandit group who at the beginning of the movie are stuck. They're actually trapped on a mesa or mountain and they, have to separate. One of them is going to go save the other one. But Dad Longworth, through various machinations, which I won't spoil this movie, so you need to watch it, leaves Rio behind to be caught by the authorities and thrown in jail for years.
Loco. Hey, I wonder what happened to your friend, huh?
Rio, played by Marlon Brando, breaks out of jail and ends up going to Monterey, California with a bandit group, and they're going to go rob a bank. Well, guess what? Guess who's the sheriff of Monterey at this point? It's his old partner, Dad Longworth. So now you have Rio, the would-be possible bandit, going to this town to go rob a bank, which is protected by the sheriff, who used to be a bandit, and is his former partner, who he thinks screwed him over, left him for dead, and left him to the fate of the authorities to get him thrown in jail. So you have at once a bandit versus law plot, a revenge plot, an old friends now enemies plot. And it's just so great to watch these two actors sort of work out these characters who want to cover everything up, or, Dad Longworth ends up lying about why he left Rio on the mesa, and he thinks he makes up with Rio, but of course Brando plays this very tortured bandit who's been screwed over, sort of a Count of Monte Cristo plot in which the character breaks out of jail and comes back seeking inadvertently revenge, and Brando just plays this sort of tortured yet justified bandit so well, and mostly you're on Rio's side in this movie, and yet he's kind of in a way a terrible person. He'd screw people over, he'd certainly lie to them, and one thing he's got in his mind is to seduce Dad Longworth's stepdaughter, young Mexican stepdaughter, in order to get revenge. But of course, this is a movie, and it turns out he ends up falling in love with her. Now, Brando, like Charles Laughton in The Night of the Hunter here, one for one. He's in the top 1% to 2% of professional directors ever, just on the basis of One-Eyed Jax. His sense of where to put the camera angles, editing is immaculate. This is great classical filmmaking at its best. And Brando, I think, as an actor, a very complex actor using a Stanislavski method, and creating these very, as you can see in all of his movies, very complex, tortured even characters, which is what he's known for, being a tortured, brooding sort of actor. He makes all the characters that through the camera work. And so each character, even the minor characters, get complications and become sort of multi-dimensional characters. For example, besides Rio and Dad Longworth, you have the bandit who is going to, go rob the bank with Rio, and yet he might be a double crosser, he might even be a triple crosser. You've got the wife of Dad Longworth, whose stepdaughter is being pursued by Rio. She has her eye on him and is very wary of him, even though Dad Longworth thinks they're friends again. You have a jailer character played by Slim Pickens here, who, yes, he upholds the law, but he's also as crooked, perhaps, as anybody in the movie.
Read that sign? I got a lot of funny things to do today, but lipping with you ain't one of them.
And then ultimately, of course, this is Brando's movie as an actor, and he's as great as he ever was in this movie. He's just charismatic, brooding, tortured, and I think actually that describes the plot and feel of this movie, sort of what he shows you on screen in this movie as his character. That's what you see in the movie. This is Rio's movie as a misfit bandit figure, an anti-hero who's a hero you root for but you don't. This movie really articulates that feel and that classic Western character very well, I think. I think the movie uses what in poetry they call the pathetic fallacy. It's not really a fallacy in my view, but it's when poets try to use nature, whether it's storms or ocean waves in this case, dust storms in this movie, to evoke these huge emotions in the characters. Nature itself is a metaphor for the internal turmoils or emotions of characters. And you get that in this movie with the Brando character, Rio especially, the dust kicking up all over the place. Then he goes to Monterey, and you have the ocean waves crashing. It's at once romantic and yet churning, and a lot of turmoil going on inside his soul. As far as his partner being an ex-bandit, but now the sheriff, his partner trying to get revenge on him and just distrusting him, but saying, "Oh, I'm still your friend." All of these emotions come up for Rio, and you just feel them through both the camera work and the setting of this. And of course, it's Monterey, California, probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. I've got a friend who says God goes on vacation there. So Brando knew what he's doing by setting the movie mostly in this spot. A lot of the great westerns on Great Westerns list are pretty subtle, especially John Ford's. Say, compare this to The Searchers. You have to really look at the characters carefully, their gestures, what they don't say, in order to sort of pick out what they're feeling and the complexities. The complexities are right on the surface here for Brando. You might call this movie too melodramatic, overly melodramatic. Fine criticism of it. It may be a little too long and you could cut out 10 minutes from it, but I really love the melodrama in this movie. I'm into it as far as enjoying the characters and their complexities. And so for that reason, I think this is actually a legitimately great movie. Have you seen this movie? What do you think about it? I'd love to know. Please leave us a comment in the comment section. And subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.